live. I'm going live in the Google Hangout. I don't know who else is here. Let's see. Open up the chat window, see if anyone is here. For the most part, though, I'm not going to see the chat window because I'm going to be working. I'm going to be working on the on the course. So if I can remember to, I will toggle back and forth and see if anyone has any questions on anything. Let's see. Do I need to do anything here? Okay, so again, for Blab people, there's a link on the Blab going to a Google Hangout. I'd urge you all to go there. I'm about to switch over to the Google Hangout where I am going to share what I'm looking at. Let's see, entire screen. Sure, you guys can see my entire screen. Whoa, okay, let's get off this. Okay, so let's see. This is what we're trying to do today. We are going to take some piece of artwork that a child has done and figure out a way to get it on a t-shirt or a mug or whatever, whatever it is that you want to put it on. We're going to use Photoshop because that's really the industry standard. If you don't have Photoshop, you could still learn something by watching this. But if you want to be doing photo editing on a professional level, I would urge people to get Photoshop. You can get it pretty easily, and not for maybe $20 a month these days on Adobe.com. So I'm going to use Photoshop, and you're going to be learning some techniques to push and pull colors to make it so that you go from not this. Where's the other window? Oh, there's the Blab window. Hi, people. Here's the problem when you scan in your child's artwork. If you just put it up as is, it will look something like this on a t-shirt. The scan, you can see the paper underneath, and the quality is just not ideal for putting on anything. What you want to do is find some way to pull out this paper texture that's all around and just leave it white. So you have essentially this sort of a thing with your t-shirt or mug or whatever. And I'll show you all of these as I go. So we're going to go into Photoshop, and this is essentially what I started with. I scanned in my son's artwork, and what I would urge you to do if you're scanning in a child's artwork, scan it in at the biggest dots per inch DPI that is available to you. In my case, I scanned it in at 400 DPI. I think that I could have gone higher than that, but in this case, this is what I'm working with, is 400. Anything over 300 is good. It also kind of depends on how big the piece of artwork is. But as you can see, when you look at it, there's just not, it's pretty light. There's nothing really, the blue is very, very hard to see. The red shows up well, the yellow shows up okay, but the pencil lines are really thin. And so the first step that you need to do is to try and pull these colors out. And the way I do that is, well, where'd it go? Okay. All right, stop moving. The way I do that is to make it another layer. And in this layer, I go to Image, Adjustments, and Levels. Now what Levels does is it affects the darkness or lightness of our highlights, our midtones, and our darks. So if I take on the right, if I pull this on the left, if I pull the black marker down, what it's doing, you can see it slowly make the darkest parts of the image much darker, which is good. That's a good thing to do. If I only take the midtone and I pull it to the dark, then it starts to affect the paper. It also affects the black, but it affects the paper as well. It starts to make that extremely dark. And if I pull it over to the left, then it makes the paper white, but it also affects all of the color entirely. And on the right, there's the white marker. If I pull that, you can see this dark shape here. This is the area of white that's affected. And if I pull that over, then the whole thing goes away slowly. If I pull it all the way over, it's all gone. And if I pull the black over to the right, then it goes essentially as dark as it can go. But what I want is to make the midtones a little bit darker, even though that affects the paper, and make the blacks a little bit darker. And you can push and pull to see what works. I like the yellow now, it looks good. The blue is still a little light. And so you hit OK, and now that's what the new image looks like. And if you look back at the layer below it, that's what we started from. That's what we have now. Now I'm going to just check to see if you guys are still here. Okay. All right, and that's good. That's crazy. Okay. So back in Photoshop. So the problem that we have now is that you can see all the paper around this. And so how do you keep this color and like dark the way that you want it, but pull out all of this paper in a way that looks good? And the way you do that is to go up to Image, Adjustments, and you want to go to Replace Color. And what this does, it allows you to use the magic wand tool to select any color, and you can play with it. Now I've selected the yellow just so I can show you how if I change the hue of the yellow, it'll change it drastically. It's not what I want to do, but I'm just showing you how this works. And up here is fuzziness. And you can adjust the fuzziness to affect more or less of the color around it. So if you select a yellow, you can make it so that it's just selecting a small range of yellow, and that's what will be affected. But if you raise the fuzziness up, it'll select all yellow, like all around that. But we don't want to affect the yellow at all. So I'm gonna do that. And what I want to affect, though, is this gray color underneath, this paper texture that you can see as I zoom in. Now, I'm going to select this, and you can see the color that you select right here at the bottom of the Replace Color window. And as you can see, it's like a purplish. There's no perfect white, but we're going to do our best to change this. And also the fuzziness, I want to drop it down. You can see below the fuzziness slider, like what area of the image is affected. So I'm going to lower this fuzziness down quite a bit because I only want to affect a little bit of this image at a time. I want to start pulling out the areas that are particularly not white and make them whiter. So now that I have my fuzziness word, I'm going to go down to the bottom of the Replace Color. The slider is lightness at the bottom, and I'm going to raise this up and see what that does. As you can see, it's not. It makes for it's not exactly what I want here, but it's not bad either. I can play with this, and also once you see, like if I pulled it all the way down, then it goes crazy the other way. But I'm going to pull this all the way up. And then I'm going to adjust my fuzziness to see if it affects the blue and the red. If I pull it out like this much, it affects quite a bit. It affects a ton, actually. And that might be okay. Now that I pull back, you can see that it's pulled out almost all of the paper texture. But what it's also done is pull out a great deal of line around the eyes. Drawing by my 5-year-old son, by the way. So if I make the lightness a little less Yeah, that's not what I want. So what I can do is change the fuzziness so that it's not pulling everything. Another thing I can do in the replace color window is not just affect one color. There's 3 eyedropper tools. One is just, if you select the one on the left, you're only affecting one color, the color that you choose in the image. If I do the plus eyedropper, then I can affect multiple colors. And if I do the eyedropper with the minus tool, I can subtract colors that I've chosen before. I don't do a ton of subtracting. I tend to stick to one. But if I add just one more slight purple here, then that does kind of what I want it to do. It's pulled out quite a bit of the paper texture, without taking a ton of the line away. And there's also tricks that we can do once we've got, like, even if we take a little bit of the line away, there's other tricks that we can do. Now, if you can see over in the corner, oops, I just added yellow with the eyedropper tool. I don't want to do that. So you can see here over in the corner that there's this wonkiness happening with around the yellow, and that's because I probably need to add another color effect here. What that does. So if I selected that, it pulled a lot away. It didn't pull from the blue, which is great. And now I have a very clean looking image. I've lost some of the image. I don't know if you can tell around the pencil line. And if I mess with the fuzziness, that doesn't really do much. Oh, I can, if I pull it all the way up, I'm affecting a ton of the image. If I pull it down, that's maybe a little more than I want, but I'm going to keep it around there. A little bit of imperfections isn't bad. You just don't want a rectangular image that's full of this wonky paper texture. I'm going to hit OK. And now we have this. So let's look at what we started with. Very light image. And now we have a very clean looking image. And there's stuff that we can do here. I'm going to crop this because I noticed at the bottom there's this extra space from the scanner that was left. So I'm going to crop that so we're just working with this much. I'm also going to check in to see if you guys are still here. There's a few of you on Blab. How's it going? If you're on Blab and you haven't noticed the link down below, we're in a Google Hangout. Whoa, craziness. So I believe that this is, yeah, I'm still live here. So I'm gonna go back. So now we have the cleaner image. And there's other ways we can play with this. So if I take this layer, the background copy to, and drag it down to the icon, the second icon from the right at the bottom of the layers tab, I'll make a new layer. Now if I click up here, I can decide how that layer is treated. I'm going to go with multiplying just to see what that looks like. Now, I don't really like how that works, because it's affecting the yellow quite a bit. It's affecting all the colors, making them darker. It's changing the yellow to an orange, and I don't really want that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to image, and oh, can I do that? Oh, yeah. I'm going to go back to the original layer, or not the original layer, but the new edited layer. And I'm going to go to adjustments, image, adjustments, and levels again. And the reason I want to go to levels right now is to see if I can pull out that pencil drawing for a face up top. And I can do it, but again, it's doing basically what the other technique I tried did. It turns the yellow into orange and darkens up the rest. So this is what I'm going to do instead. We're going to go back to image, adjustments, and back to the replace color. And we're going to get really specific about what we choose to replace color with. First of all, you can see there's this carryover. I don't know if it comes across or if it's getting compressed, but as I zoom in, I see that there's this dithering um, artifacts from earlier stuff that I don't want. So I'm going to take care of that first. I'm going to select that color. It's a very, very light purple carryover from the textures or from the paper texture before. I'm going to make the fuzziness really low, and then I'm going to bring the lightness up, and we're going to take care of that. So that's going to be good. And I want to zoom out so I see if how much I'm losing. No, it looks really clean. I'm still losing part of that part of this pencil line up here, and I want to take care of that. So I'm going to hit OK, and then we're going to try and take care of this line. So we're going back to image adjustments and replace color. And we're going to zoom way in. I want to darken. I want to essentially bold these lines a little bit. And the way I can do that is to select this color, which is really just like a darkish gray, but not as gray as the rest of these. I'm going to bump the fuzziness up a little bit. And I'm going to make this, I'm going to go to lightness and make it darker. And we'll see what that does. It does, and it affects quite a bit. I don't know if that's good or bad yet, but I want to go to the eyedropper with the plus and replace color. And I want to select another color that's light gray to try and pop that out a little bit more. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. Okay. What did I just do? So that looks better. I'm liking how dark that is. I can play with that lightness or darkness, and I can adjust the fuzziness to see what I'm affecting. If I pull up it quite a bit, it goes a little crazy. So I'll keep that fuzziness down to 46, and I'll hit OK. Now let's look at what we started with again. Very, very light, unusable scan, and this is pretty typical for any scan that you'll do of a child's drawing. Or maybe my scanner is particularly good. Whereas now we have not a perfect, there's still some stuff that we need to do before we put this on a product. As you can see, if I zoom in, there's still artifacts. The darkest areas of the paper are still, are even more pronounced dark. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the brush tool. I'm going to go to the color palette, and I'm going to make it white. You could also just use the eyedropper tool to select the color, which is white, as it should be. And I'm going to make the brush bigger by going up top. Let's make it, for me, 350. And I'm just going to use white to just draw out some of the imperfections. I'm not going to go too crazy. Yeah, so sometimes there's a large imperfection in the paper that you need to catch. But really, you can't really see what it is I'm doing. I'm just, and I honestly, I can barely see it. But it will matter a little bit when you finally upload it. Okay, whoop, I went too far on that. Okay. Give me one moment. My Photoshop has stalled out. It didn't like something. Sorry about this. This is the problem with doing this live, I guess. I don't get a chance to edit this part out. Why? Come on. maybe now's a good time to check to see if everyone is still where they're supposed to be. Live Hangout's still happening. Every time I open that, it goes crazy. Oh, hey, there's a bunch of you here. Yeah, if you're in the blab, be in the be in the Hangout. Okay, let's see if my Photoshop has stopped freaking out yet. Oh, okay. I'll just back up in my history to make sure that I don't. So I'm going to call this the final image, and the blue looks good. The yellow is a little bit more orange than maybe it should be. And if I wanted to, I could change that the same way I've been changing it by going to Image, Adjustment, Replace Color. I guess I can play with this to show you just another way. Select the yellow, make the fuzziness a little bit higher, and then if you make it lighter, then it becomes that yellow that you started with. But I'm going to call that the final image, and that's what we started with. So it's a pretty big difference. And here's the other thing: because this is all white, when you go to your print-on-demand shop, you really can only put them on white products. So this is what it looks like on a shirt. This is what the original would have looked like on a shirt if I just pumped up the paper texture. This is what that would have looked like, and so obviously that's not ideal. This is the correct version, and it looks great on other products. Now I'm using Redbubble, but you can do Zazzle. You can really do anything with no problem. I'll just poke around the interface in Redbubble to show you how you would maneuver this into different products in a way that made sense. So in Redbubble, it lists all of the products that you can put your artwork on. And you can disable them. If you don't want to sell a particular type of product, you can disable it or enable it. Like I don't want a sticker sold because it's just a rectangle. But if I want to position an all over graphic tee, I can use the size tool to change that, and I can move the artwork around, apply those changes, and that's what that will look like on a graphic tee. I actually really like the way it looks here on the iPhone case, but you can, if you want to show the whole thing, you can do that by just dragging it around. Pillow. Who wouldn't want to give their kid a pillow with their artwork on it? It seems to be fashionable these days to put your child's artwork to tattoo it on your body, and I'm not against that. But if you're not the kind of person who wants to do that, who wants to make that type of life commitment, then this is a fun way to take your kids' drawings and put it on something that will last maybe a little bit longer than it will being just on your refrigerator. And I just think it's really cool. Not, practical from a business standpoint. You're not going to become a millionaire putting your kids' artwork on print-on-demand products, unless your child is a protege of some sort. But it's just a fun thing. You can show your kids later on the drawing that they did on your travel mug, or on your pencil skirt if you wanted to do that. Yeah. Here's your drawing on a pencil skirt. That will start a lot of conversations. I mean, I guess especially if you're a dad wearing a pencil skirt, but yeah. So you go through your products and you position them the way you want them positioned, save the work. And these are the products. This is what they look like as you've positioned them. A framed print, art print. Check it out on a throw pillow. And at the highest quality image there. the pillow, but based on my positioning on the tote bag, this is what it looks like on the tote bag. Yeah, so, you know, that's about it for this. The products have to be white, and you'll notice on, let me see if I have it here. In Redbubble in particular, let's see, yeah, looks good on white. It will not look good on other colors. I should let you know, and I would avoid doing it on other colors. When you go into the edit in Redbubble in particular, Redbubble will allow you to change the color, like the available colors, and I've deselected all colors other than white, and I did that on purpose because it just won't look good on gray. Let's take a look at why that is why that's important. Let's see. Yeah, so it would just be a rectangle on whatever color, and it looks fine on white but not on others. And I hope that was useful. I'm going to pop into the Blab. No one has asked any questions. I'm going to pop over to the Google Hangout. And no one has said anything. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. I hope this was useful. I'd love to see if you decide at any point to put your kid's drawing on a mug.